What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the decidedly debonair Dr. Disaster. And they say that failing to plan is planning to fail, but I think those can actually be two different things. So, with that in mind, I've got to ask, what do you think is worse for a video game studio, failing to plan or planning to fail?
You're both just awful.
Yeah, neither of those options are good, but whatever your answer is to that question, for whatever reason, don't nod. The developer of Lost Records, Bloom and Rage apparently decided that planning to fail was the direction that they'd like to go, because they just had an earnings report for the studio and they're claiming that everything is fine because the low sales of their game is actually a part of their plan. That's what they forecasted, which reveals that the psychology that the Joker described in The Dark Knight is fundamentally correct.
Nobody panics when things go according to plan, even if the plan is horrifying.
As long as you tell people that this was all part of the plan, then they act like everything is okay, but just look at the numbers for Lost Records over on Steam. The game came out a couple months ago, had less than 2,000 players at launch, and now they've released Chapter 2 for the game, and they picked up a new all-time peak, but they are still just under 3,000 concurrent players at their max.
What a loser! Big time!
To top things off, according to VG Analytics, the game has only sold around 71,000 copies on Steam, which ain't good, not at all. We're gonna take a deep dive into the studio's numbers, which tells us that if this was the plan, if Lost Records was only supposed to sell a couple 100,000 copies, which is the best case scenario if you factor in console sales, then they had been planning to fail all along. Frankly, this seems like cope for a game that has a look similar to last year's Dustborn, and which was clearly designed for the modern audience, which has abandoned them. But hey, at least they're trying to put on a brave face in front of the investors.
I'm a real failure.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. I've written a dark fantasy novel that will be available to purchase soon on Amazon, and audiobook of the book's beginning will be available to channel members first in a week or so. I'm just ironing out the last few kinks and will be ready to rock and roll. But if you want to support alternatives to mainstream culture, things like Lost Records, Bloom and Rage here, well, consider becoming a channel member for as little as $5 a month. In any event, let's talk about Lost Records and how these guys are trying really hard at Don't Nod to make it seem like their studio is doing well and they're happy with their game's sales numbers. Spoiler alert, they're not. They can't be. Let's look at some of these numbers. Now, a cursory search shows that Don't Nod has 469 employees that work for them. Those are AAA numbers, by the way, and this is a studio that hasn't made anything substantial for a long time, so it really begs the question, how in the hell are they paying those 469 employees? They're being bankrolled, of course, but eventually they have to put something out to give a return on investment. And here's the thing, Don't Nod has two studios. One of them is in France, and the other one is in Canada, and the average salary of developers in those countries, and this is an entry-level salary, mind you, but the average salary is about $80,000. For anyone wondering, that means that Don't Nod is paying their 469 employees something in the ballpark of $38 million per year at the minimum. And that's only if they're getting by with paying everyone an entry-level salary. Sony, which seems extremely unlikely, but I couldn't find any specific data as to how long it took them to make Lost Records, but the game was originally announced at the Game Awards in 2023, which means that they had to have been working on it for at least a year or two prior to that. This suggests that it's taken them at least 3 years to make the game, so if they're paying employees $38 million per year and it took them 3 years to make it, then that is over $100 million that they've spent in that time frame. $116 million to be more specific. Now, it's a safe bet that the studio is working on other projects, but even if we cut that number in half, that is $58 million spent on development alone. The marketing campaign wasn't much. I never really saw any advertisements for this game. We won't even factor marketing in, but anyhow, now let's look at the total number of sales for this game again and see how much money they've lost. On Steam, VG Analytics suggests they have sold about 71,000 copies of the game on Steam. Chances are that Steam, which is the largest gaming platform on Earth by a wide margin, chances are they outsold the PlayStation version of the game, but for argument's sake, let's just say that PlayStation tied with Steam and they both sold about the same. That is 142,000 copies. The price of the game is $40. There have been discounts on the game. Right now you can get it for about $34, but let's ignore that for now and just assume that every copy they sold was at full price. 40 times 142,000 is about $5.5 million that they've made on the game thus far. That is a far cry from the $58 million or so that we are estimating they spent on this game's development. They need to sell over 10 times that amount to break even. And now, some people will likely point out that the game is available on PlayStation Plus, so that is additional revenue for Don't Nod. And of course, we don't know exactly the details of their agreement with Sony, but I guarantee you that it isn't $50 million that they've made on the game from PlayStation, which is what they would need in order to make up the deficit. And yet the studio is putting on a brave face. This article here is from Insider Gaming. It says, as part of the studio's latest earnings report on Wednesday, Don't Nod gave an update on the start of 2025 for the company. As part of the update, they said that the critical acclaim of Lost Records confirms their expertise in the narrative adventure genre. In addition, they say that sales are meeting expectations so far. Backed by a strategic partnership with Sony, the game's sales are in line with forecasts in an increasingly selective market. The statement reads, while not giving specific data. My guys, if this is what you forecasted to sell, then you planned to fail. Quite simply, you are failing, and you're okay with that, I guess. The thing is, this is a genre, the narrative adventure genre as they call it, which became popular about a decade ago, right when Gamergate, the original, was taking place. Non-gamers flocked to this genre because you didn't have to be an actual gamer to play it. It's a slightly interactive movie, which honestly, I don't have a problem with that, but non-gamers got to pretend they were gamers, and now that the woke locust swarm has moved on from gaming, the genre is being hung out to dry. But anyhow, circling back around to what we've been talking about, this type of game is clearly meant for the modern audience, which simply isn't there any longer. It's just another in a long line of examples which suggests that AAA studios making games for this audience is the peak of jackassery. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your mockery of Don't Nod and Lost Records Bloom and Rage into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.